My boyfriend was still not over his ex, who dumped him at 17. When she got engaged, I caught him crying while looking at her profile. Now he breaks down regularly, refuses to talk, and won't consider therapy. I, 22 female, met my boyfriend, 24 male, 3 years ago through some mutual friends. He was pretty guarded, and I was the one who pursued him. We were long distance. I was living in Oregon, he was living in Washington. Until I moved in with him last year. My boyfriend has only had one other relationship and a hookup before me. He stopped talking to the hookup a long time ago because she was crazy, but he kept in touch with his ex until she cut contact with him around 2 years ago. They dated when he was 15, and it lasted for around 2 years. And then she dumped him because he had no self-respect. Apparently, she's the reason why my boyfriend is so guarded now. I'll admit that I was really jealous of her and was glad when she cut contact with him because she's beautiful. And my boyfriend talked about her as if she had all of life's answers. This past January, I woke up in the middle of the night and heard my boyfriend crying quietly. I could tell that he was looking at his phone, and I wasn't sure whether or not to say anything, since I wasn't sure if he just wanted a private moment or not. After a while, he got up to go to the bathroom, so I took a peek at his phone. He was on Facebook, looking at his ex's profile. She had gotten engaged, and there were pictures of the ring and everything. It's been 2 months now, and my boyfriend has been breaking down out of nowhere. I keep asking him to talk to me about it, but he won't. I told him to talk to a therapist, and he got really insulted and said that he doesn't believe in therapy. I'm unsure of what to do since this happens at least twice a week. I love him, but he's always seemed a bit distant to me, and obviously, this woman is the reason why. Should I contact her and ask her if she has any insight? I'm starting to think that she must have said something to upset him like this because he didn't seem that bothered when his ex was dating other people. TLDR. Boyfriend of 3 years has been crying about twice a week since he found out that his ex-girlfriend got engaged and won't talk to me or a therapist. I'm wondering if his ex said something specifically to set him off and thinking that I should contact her. Edit. I was insecure about my boyfriend's relationship with his ex from the start. They didn't talk that often, but they'd catch up once every few months through Skype or something. She lives on the East Coast, and when Hurricane Sandy hit, he called her, texted her, and messaged her on Skype, despite her having cut off contact with him prior to that. I didn't even know that he still had her phone number. Is this relationship hopeless? I knew that he still had a bit of a thing for her, but I didn't know the extent of it until now. If he can't move on after all this time, I don't understand why he got into a relationship with me. I love him. From the moment I saw him, I knew that I wanted to be with him. He's incredibly smart and charming. But you're right. I've always felt insignificant in comparison to his ex, and I don't think that I realized quite how much. If I think about it though, there were clues that I didn't pick up on. When we first started dating, I told him at some point that he didn't seem to want to open up to me, and he told me that it was because his ex had taught him not to become too vulnerable. I thought that this would pass as we got more serious about each other, and he did open up a bit more, but whenever he caught up with his ex, he'd be distant with me again for a while. I don't know why his ex cut off contact with him, but after she did, he did seem more invested in our relationship, and so I had hope for us. He was the one who asked if I wanted to move in with him, but now this happened, and he barely wants to talk to me. Update 1. It's over, I think. I called my dad and asked him to help me move back home. These last 2 days have been really emotional. My boyfriend was gone all day yesterday. He was gone when I woke up. That's fine. I assumed he went to work early, but he still wasn't home when I went to bed. I texted him once when I woke up to say good morning and twice at night. One asking if he was coming home for dinner and another asking if he was all right. I also tried calling his cell, but he didn't pick up. I thought that I deserved some answers, so I decided to snoop. Something that I've done once before when I was feeling insecure about his relationship with his ex. Well, on his laptop, hidden in a bunch of subfolders, was an MS document with his ex's name. I read it, and I'm assuming that he just saved the last conversation that he had with her, right before she contacted with him. It started out normally, but then he asked how her relationship with her now fiancé boyfriend was going. She said that it was good and that she was happy. And then it got weird because he said something like, "Really? Are you sure?" She said yes, and that was a weird question, and he said, "I don't know. I don't believe that you're that happy." I don't remember everything exactly because my head was spinning, but he basically told her that her fiancé, then boyfriend, will never treat her as well as he did, and that they've known each other X number of years and managed to stay friends after their breakup, that they've helped each other grow as people, and that she should really give him another chance. He said that he's waited for her all these years, and that he loves her and always believed they'd wind up together. This was all while he was with me. She called him an asshole and told him that he had a lot of balls to say all that to her when she told him a long time ago that they're only ever going to be friends, and that he's an even bigger asshole for doing this while they were both in relationships. She told him to go to hell and to break up with me for my sake because I deserve better. That's not even the worst part. My boyfriend woke me up this morning by calling my cell and telling me to come to the kitchen. He said that he made breakfast. So I went to the kitchen getting ready for a fight. He and I never fight, but I am so goddamn hurt. And he made what honestly looked like an amazing breakfast with a ring box in the middle of the table. He told me to open it. I did. He said something like these last 3 years with me have been an adventure, and he hopes to keep making new adventures with me. I guess around this time, I snapped out of whatever haze I've been in, and I exploded. I demanded to know where he was all day yesterday, why he wouldn't contact me, why he's been crying over his ex for the last 3 months, everything. He got mad at me for being mad. He told me that I should be happy because he was proposing, and wasn't that what I wanted? I asked him why, when it's so obvious that he'd rather be with his ex. He told me that she's obviously moved on, so it's time for him to move on too. I've never been so angry in my life. I've been so incredibly patient with this man and done my best to be understanding of his situation. I've literally given him all that I had, but I'm not going to get married to him just to be his consolation prize. It's so ironic because had he proposed 4+ months earlier, I would have been ecstatic. Now it just broke our relationship. So yeah, I called my dad, and he's on his way to help me move back in with him and my mom. That's it. I'm a wreck. But I think it's just because everything wrong and twisted in this relationship is hitting me, and it took so long for me to understand. And my ex is just sitting on the couch with his laptop. Thank you guys so much for helping me see how unfair this whole relationship was. I read every one of your comments, even if I didn't get a chance to respond to them all. TLDR. He proposed because his ex moved on, so he wanted to move on too. I'm moving back home with my parents because whenever I get married, I want to be that man's first choice. Edit. I thought that my relationship was a happy one, yes. But I didn't know that my ex was declaring his love for his ex-girlfriend and trying to win her back while he was still with me. Nor did I know that once she blocked him from Facebook, he was logging into my account to keep tabs on her. If you honestly believe that someone who's been crying for 3 months over an ex's engagement really wanted to be with me, you're in the minority. And judging by the fact that he had bought the ring the day before he proposed, he really hadn't been planning it at all. I'm astounded by your post, honestly. Update 2. First, I want to thank everyone that commented on my last post. I really took your comments to heart, and all of the support means the world to me. I took a break from Reddit but logged in today to find a few PM asking for another update, so here goes. My ex went more or less crazy after I moved back home. I blocked him from essentially everything, changed all of my passwords, and deactivated my Facebook, so he had no way of reaching me aside from literally driving to my parents' house to see me. Apparently, he started sending messages to my friends, some of them are mutual friends, asking to use their Skype accounts to talk to me. He told them that I stole some things from him when I moved out, and he wanted them back. I got a few phone calls from my friends asking me about this. They told me that they knew that I didn't steal anything from him because that's not like me at all, but they wanted to know why he was so desperate to contact me. I wasn't ready to tell the whole story. Honestly, I didn't think anyone would believe me. So I told them that I didn't know what was going on, but asked them to not give him their Skype accounts by any means. A few days after that, the phone calls started, all from a few different numbers that I didn't recognize. I didn't pick any of them up, but one day I'd have about 20 missed calls from one number, then another 20+ from a different number. I had to set my phone to only allow calls from specific numbers. Otherwise, it would go straight to my voicemail. Even if he couldn't reach me, he succeeded in making me feel pretty isolated. After the 5th day of the phone calls, I broke down and told my mom everything that happened. She didn't say much. She mostly let me talk. Afterwards, she told me that I made the right decision, but that there's absolutely no reason why I should be going through this alone. She said that she didn't want to push me to tell her what happened until I was ready, but that the best thing that I could be doing right now is spending time with people that love and support me. So after going with me to get my phone number changed, she encouraged me to start calling my friends and telling them what happened, and to just hang out with them more in general. I had it stuck in my head that everyone would side with my ex and tell me that I made a terrible mistake, that his intentions were good, and I blew things out of proportion by insinuating that he only proposed because his ex-girlfriend got engaged. But I was actually overwhelmed by my friends' responses. Apparently, my ex had been telling everyone that we broke up because I had major jealousy issues over his ex. But once they heard my side of the story, I was actually shocked by how many of them said that it made sense. They've all told me that I've done the right thing and that they'd back me up no matter what. I just felt this huge sense of relief and have been making an effort to go out more. I will be honest though, there are times where I wonder if I was wrong. Sometimes I think that maybe my ex had been grieving over his old relationship and proposing to me was his way of starting over. Sometimes I think that I turned down the only marriage proposal that I'll ever get. And sometimes I think that maybe I should have accepted because I loved him. And you don't often find people that you truly love. But then on the days that I'm feeling wiser, I remind myself of how bizarre our last few weeks together were, how I always knew deep down that I was second best for him, and how he's been behaving since we broke up. I've never seen him so unstable. He was always so calm and logical, so this is completely new to me. I know deep down that I did the right thing, but sometimes what you know in your head and feel in your heart are so completely different. So that's basically it. I'm just going through the motions, and I'm going to make an appointment with a therapist. I wish that I had something more profound to update you guys with, some added wisdom, but I don't. My best advice for anyone going through something similar is what my mom told me. Surround yourself with people that love and support you. Ex-boyfriend went batshit crazy trying to contact me. I isolated myself because I thought everyone would side with him, but after some coaxing, I told my mom and friends my side of the story, and they believe me. I go back and forth between thinking that I did the right thing to thinking I did the wrong thing, but I've managed to maintain no contact and been making an appointment to see a therapist. Update 3. Hello Reddit. I just wanted to update you guys on some things that have happened. I also wanted to apologize for not responding to any of the comments in my last post. I wasn't in a great place at the time and wasn't feeling up to it. But I did read each of your responses, and I truly appreciate those who took the time to comment. First, my ex mailed me the engagement ring that he bought shortly after my last update. I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't sure if the ring was what he had been claiming that I stole. I also felt weird about mailing it back, because what if he claimed that he never got it? So my dad volunteered to personally deliver the ring back to him. I don't know if anything was said when my dad brought it back, and I never asked. Second, I heard from some friends that 2 weeks ago, my ex bought a ticket and flew to NYC to try and talk to his ex. Somehow he found out the name of the company that she worked for, looked up its location, and waited in front of the building all day. I have no idea what happened, but apparently there aren't any signs of her coming back, so I'm assuming that it didn't go very well. I can't believe that he did that, and I can't believe that I dated someone that was that crazy for 3 years. But I suppose it helps every time that I hear about something like this because it reinforces the fact that I did the right thing. I met with 2 therapists. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. Every time that I said something, he'd ask, "And how do you feel about that?" No feedback or suggestions whatsoever. At the end, he suggested that I was depressed and might want to consider a few different medications. I don't intend on seeing that guy again. I met the second one last week though, and I liked her a lot. She told me that she doesn't think that I need to see her regularly, but to feel free to make appointments whenever I'm feeling especially down or stressed. So, I think I'll do that. A few people asked why I wanted to see a therapist in my last post because I seemed to be doing the right things. Well, the problem was that even though I knew I was doing the right thing, I didn't necessarily feel that they were right. I still doubted myself, and I felt like a different person than I used to be. Prior to this mess, I was always very optimistic and happy in general. I always tried to make the best of things, but at the time of my last post, I felt down, and even though I was making an effort to see friends, I wasn't really enjoying it. Anyway, this brings me to where I am now. I started a paid internship with the chance of getting hired full-time almost a month ago, and I love it. I love the people, the work itself, and the fact that I'm getting back into a routine. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that I'm attracted to the guy that hired me, who's about my age. There's nothing going on, and I'm definitely not ready or willing to be in a relationship. It's simply the fact that he is the nicest, best-mannered person that I've ever met. He's always positive, polite, and smiling, so it's impossible not to be in a good mood around him. So it's not that I think my next relationship should be with him or that I have feelings for him. It's just that I've realized that the type of person that I should be looking for is someone that makes me feel good just by being around them. I don't give much thought to my ex anymore. It's amazing how much life changes over the course of a few months, but I think that everything is turning out for the best. TLDR. Ex-boyfriend mailed me my ring, flew to NYC to try and talk to his ex, and nothing came of it. In the meantime, life is looking up for me. I found a therapist that I like, I have a paid internship, and I met the kind of guy that I should be looking for whenever I feel ready for another relationship. Story 2. Grandma showed favoritism towards my aunt's family, and when my grandpa was slowly losing his memory before he passed away, she fed him bullshit and wiped my family from his memory. Now she's shocked and upset that I don't talk to her anymore. Is it worth forgiving her? This is about my paternal grandmother. She had 3 kids in the following order. Each adjacent sibling is 2 years apart: aunt, uncle, and then dad. They all had kids. Aunt has 2 daughters, uncle has 1 son, and my dad has a daughter and a son, me. I cannot speak for my dad's upbringing, because I didn't exist to witness it. Unlike my dad's siblings, he was the only one who raised his family overseas after finding a job that was hard to refuse. So obviously, it's unrealistic for us to visit them more than once a year. Aunt has always lived in the same town, and uncle lives on the other side of the country. My parents had the vision that my sister and I would have better futures, as they would be earning much more than what they could in our native land. We're Indians, and our education system has many flaws. As a result, we would also have sizable college funds and receive a more diverse post-secondary education that we wouldn't be able to do had we not moved abroad. As a kid who visited my grandparents, I didn't notice my grandma's character because I was just an innocent boy discovering the world and believed in respecting elders, whether they were right or wrong. I still had fond memories of Grandpa. He cared more about what was going on in my life. She was more invested in watching soap operas, so I never felt she was the highlight of every visit. It seemed like we were one happy family and had fun with my cousins. I was too naive to see the big picture. Over the years, my dad has also done more for them than his siblings, such as a generous down payment to build a new house. The sale of the old house was enough to pay off the new one. He also paid for renovations. My aunt and uncle have done small favors like buying appliances. As I grew older and with each visit, I noticed things and felt less and less welcome in their home and started to see Grandma's true character. At this point, my grandpa was slowly losing his physical capabilities, and he wasn't strong enough to raise his voice and stand up against her bullshit. She didn't respect my mom. I thought it was just the regular in-law drama. We didn't feel like family members, not even a guest. My mom was doing housework and cooking to feed us the appropriate food. She saw my mom as a service worker instead of the mother of her son's kids. Grandparents had a specialized diet that was not suitable for growing teenagers. Grandma insisted on ordering food all the time. 99% of outside food is greasy and unhealthy. Growing kids should avoid it. However, when my aunt and her family dropped by, she would push my mom around, rush her, and make her run to the grocery store to accommodate their wants. When we were hanging out and it was my family's time to share stories, she immediately interrupted and digressed as if we were irrelevant. She wouldn't even let Grandpa finish our conversation. Her voice was louder. I don't understand how he let her manage to be an overbearing person. Regardless of such indifference, I just used to believe that my mom was looking after them like she would look after us. I didn't think much of it as it's grown-up stuff. Eventually, my dad saw my mom's frustration and decided it was best to buy an apartment for vacation and have a safe place if my sister and I visit from abroad. All these years, we alternated our stays between relatives' houses. This reduced our stays with relatives for the sake of our sanity. Coincidentally, my aunt owned an apartment in the same neighborhood that she rented out. My cousin would eventually move here after she got married and had a kid. One day, they dropped by. Her 6-year-old brat was playing with my suitcase and pushing on its wheels here and there. I politely told him it's not a toy and took it away. Cousin then says I should allow him to do so as he's just a kid. She wouldn't let me say no to the kid. One disagreement after the other, I said, "Teach your kid not to act entitled. Like mother, like son." Later that evening, my dad was talking to Grandma on the phone and brought up the story. She was bitter and didn't want to hear or accept the chaos that her great-grandchild was causing. It's almost as if she had that overly sentimental feeling of aunt being the first child, cousin being the first grandkid, so on and so forth. That day, I realized my family will always be beneath my aunts. I told my parents that I no longer wanted to visit Grandma. She was such a toxic bitch. They convinced me to go there just for the sake of my grandpa, because he was the one person in the house who had welcomed us. It almost felt as if my dad, being the youngest, was an unplanned child and was a burden on her. Because I noticed she kept bragging about how my aunt bought her a fridge and tried to put so much light on her and her family while putting my family in the dark. A fridge versus down payment on a house? You've got to be kidding. With each visit, I dreaded my time but had some positive moments. Grandpa was losing his memory and was wheelchair-bound. I found it adorable when he said, "You look like my grandson." He played sports and won a few medals. Nevertheless, I enjoyed his company, and that was enough to make visits worthwhile. My grandma immediately tried to get me to bring him back in the house when I used to push him up and down the streets. She didn't like to see us having a good time. He clearly could have used small changes in his daily routine. When my cousin dropped by, he was quick to remember. With each visit, he questioned who I was and noticed that our family's photo kept moving away towards the corner. My cousin had more and more pics in the center. That's when I realized that Grandma is feeding bullshit and wiping us from Grandpa's memory. I told my dad how I felt, and he kept saying that they treated all siblings equally when he was growing up. Growing up with shelter, food, and education was enough for him. All those years, he didn't defend my mom and put up with Grandma's bullshit. When I asked my mom how she was able to put up with it, she said she did it for the sake of Grandpa because he was kind to her and wanted us to have a good relationship with him. My mom also told me that she never lifted me as a baby. I found it hard to believe until I realized there were no photos of us together. She favored the other grandkids because I had much darker skin. She had that stupid small village mentality and was trying to convince my mom of skin lightening treatments. When Grandpa passed away, I was studying abroad in my senior year, and it was finals. They didn't tell me the news until I finished my last one. My parents dropped the news when I was FaceTiming and were about to add Grandma to the call. I told them I didn't want to talk to her. My dad was upset, and my mom had that "I told you so" look. After his pestering, I eventually talked and told her to leave me alone. I also reminded her how she put my family beneath my aunt's and told her about the details above. I told her to ask her golden grandchild for support and hung up. My cousin called me an asshole and hasn't talked to her or her family since. It was not worth telling her the story because she's biased towards Grandma, so I ignored them too. All those years, I stood by and said nothing just for Grandpa's sake. I could no longer tolerate her bullshit anymore. Just because she's blood doesn't mean she's family. Ever since I noticed her belittling my mom, I couldn't see her as my blood anymore. She couldn't treat my mom as her daughter and extended this behavior by not showing love to the grandkids. How can she expect her grandkid to maintain a good relationship after making them feel unwelcomed? Just because Grandpa doesn't exist anymore doesn't give her the right to force herself into my life.